we need some help. And then I'll meet with them, kind of talk about some of the tensions they face as couples or individuals as they begin working for the first time. And they might be excellent at what they do, whether teacher, pharmacy person, or whatever spectrum of work you might be doing. They don't have like basic financial literacy in the way they interact with money. They'll meet with me and ask me to like look at their like 401k statements to 403b statements, to setting it up, to like learning how to budget, to basic stuff. This is really about basic stuff. I don't, I'm not going to give you advice on what to do. And like sometimes people ask me about like cryptocurrency and all that kind of stuff. Well, one, I'm not licensed to give you advice on that kind of stuff, but you know, I would say if those are some of the questions you can ask, and I'll give you what I do or what I don't do. I have passive friends who would encourage me to buy certain things, and I'll think about it and I'll do some homework. But I don't generally buy things I don't understand, and that's probably a great place to start. And I'll start with you can just leave it there for now. I don't know how many slides we're actually going to go through out of 178 slides, but maybe 10. Who knows? I think, was it Pastor John who asked me? No, it was Stephen who asked me how I got started a little bit. So one of the reasons I got started with the whole financial stuff was, by the way, anyone in insurance industry here? Insurance sales? Yeah? No, not. Yeah. So right after I got married, right after Hope was born, it's like surprise. Anyway, Hope was a surprise for us, a great joy, but still a surprise. My wife and I thought it's like we should get life insurance in case something happens. And by the way, theologically, I also wrestle with life insurance too. It's like, do I buy life insurance? If I say I believe in God and who I trust, like, does it make sense to buy life insurance? And I dealt with that kind of questions, but the way society now functions and set up versus Old Testament time, New Testament time, even 100 years ago, works a little different. But anyway, I went to see my high school like close best friend who does sell life insurance, and this is like 30 years ago. No, actually, no, you're 21, so this is 20 years ago, and this is like the beginning of my financial literacy journey, kind of. I didn't know anything about life insurance. So because he's a life insurance salesperson, he sold what makes most sense for him. In the state of New Jersey, back then, I don't know if things have changed. I don't think that's changed that much. And an insurance salesperson does not have to give a fiduciary advice to their clients. It just has to be, there's a term I'm forgetting. It has to be just satisfactory, meaning my best friend in high school doesn't have to sell me what is best for me. It's a suitability. As long as it's suitable, it's okay. So he sold me this insurance product that I probably didn't, it was expensive. It didn't have enough actual coverage, but it made most money for him. It wasn't the best thing. I could have gotten so much more if I got a different, and it's the whole like term life, whole life, variable life. It's unfortunately, it's a type of insurance that some of the New Jersey teachers get sold with a high commission for the salesperson. So like made like bunch of stuff decisions that way. So my basic rule of thumb, as I counsel people, whether you're married or single, like, don't buy things you don't understand. So let me just start with that, okay? So that you don't make mistakes that cost you thousands, tens of thousands, and regret later and yell at your best friend and say, why did you sell this to me, kind of thing. But so if you go to the first screen, so now this is a bit outdated, but it deals with like, and the state of America. The interesting thing is this hasn't changed. This stat is about 10 years old, but if you look at any recent surveys of an average American who are living paycheck to paycheck, it hasn't changed that much. And if you still look at the stats on an average American with like more than $1,000 in cash, so that if there's an emergency, they don't have to use a credit card, like that still hasn't changed that much, which is really kind of sad. Um, I, I think perhaps there's a kind of a difference in average American and us here, but nevertheless, um, the statistic also doesn't differ that much with average American versus like born again Christians too. So, my hope and prayer for Crossway Fellowship is that you guys grow and mature, um, whether you're a student, but especially as you're working, that you grow in that recognition of God's ownership and you grow to become good, faithful steward. So that at the end, the most important thing that I want to hear from the Lord is "Good job, faithful servant." I hope that drives our desire to um, grow in that arena. So if you look at the next screen, I would say money fights or money matters still serve as one of the top three things that stresses out marriages. Okay, no surprise. Um, this has been the case for the, I don't know, decades. It still is. How many guys are married? A few. Engaged, dating, just single. Hey, be proud. That means you have more time to prepare. But you need to prepare well because you know I said this in the message too. Like money is one of the arenas where we actually are not as intentional, and couple of arenas of like life that's significant but we don't talk about in church is like money and sex, right? But they matter a lot to God, and I hope that you guys encourage one another to grow in those arenas for purity and for accountability for God's glory. But the reality is, um, money stresses marriages a lot. I would say a lot of times when I meet with couples at church, it's there's pressure and friction within marriage context, and a lot of times it's because we all have different kind of money scripts. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term. Um, there's a dad and son duo by the names of Clontz. I can't remember their first names, but they're both financial advisors who are psychiatrists or psychologists. They wrote a couple of books on money scripts, and each one of us, we grew up with our family of origin, and we relate with money in a different way. And there's a lot of emotional baggage that comes with money, right? And if you think about it, like not just because we're like we have like education background, most of our money problem is not a math issue because personal finance is not like rocket science. We're not using like calculus when we're doing personal finance. We're dealing with basic arithmetic, right? So it's not that we can't do math for the most part. Sure, maybe compound interest is a little bit different when you're dealing with debt or when you're trying to save money, but most of the holes we dig ourselves into has to do with our emotional way in relating with money and decisions we make when we are either super happy or super depressed. So, um, money, marriage. Again, if you have questions, please interject. Feel free. Just raise your hand and ask your question. Next. Not only does it stress your marriage, it stresses people out in general, right? Um, especially now, but nothing has changed. It has always been this way. Money has always caused stress in people. We deal with this sense of inadequacy, the economy, whether the job market and everything else. And next screen, this is